14th of July, 2024, 8:32am. It's the first morning in 21 years I'm waking up not as a Test cricketer. The first time as an adult, I'm opening my eyes as someone else, a person undiscovered, a purpose unknown, a future unwritten. The last thing I remember from my final day as an England international is the sun coming up while sitting in a chicken shop at 5:30am. Joe Root had held my gaze in the dressing room after play and said, "I'm doing whatever you're doing tonight." There was excuse after excuse to keep the evening going, to stay with my teammates until the new dawn forced it over. Cricket is good like that. It sticks people together in irreversible ways, even when it can no longer hold you in the same team anymore. We drank in the dressing room, waving to the crowd stretched out across the outfield at Lord's. We played cricket again with our children when the crowds left. We returned to the hotel bar where my family and friends had kept the celebrations going. Still not content, we found a bar in Chelsea. Hungry and stretching the night out, we found a chicken shop. They wouldn't let us in at first. Joe had taken them aside and explained the situation, that there needed to be an end that fitted all the road we had travelled, all the suffering and joys and endless brutal cricket. And hot wings here and now in this establishment was the only acceptable ending. I squinted at him during his negotiation with the staff, where he looked like he was borderline pleading as if it was some kind of dying wish of mine, imagining him to be saying that a table is all we need to make this 41-year-old fast bowler happy after decades of service. After some negotiation, they looked back up at him and over at me, like some sort of death row meal made an exception for us. We could have whatever we wanted, and that's how it ended. The 704 wickets, the 188 test matches, the 170 registered injuries, the endless feuds with all those grizzled cricketers, sitting with Joe, eating hot wings, shielding our eyes as the sun came up. There were 330 pints drunk that day in the England dressing room. I can remember my first, sitting next to Nasser Hussain as soon as that first test was won. It had all begun in the very same place with him as my captain all those years ago, when I entered to find a room packed full of players I'd only ever seen on TV. It ended with Nasser again, this time him holding a microphone, live on Sky Sports, my current teammates gathered round me in silence, waiting on every word. I looked around the room as we went on air and scanned my team. First Ben Stokes to my left, already getting through his first Guinness, then the others, some not even born when Nasser had first picked me. There was probably a total of about 40 years difference between my first teammates and the ones in here now. I wouldn't dare even try to look it up. But Nasser, in this new capacity, decades thawed out from the man who watched my first over go for 17 runs and then reluctantly apologised for the field he set, sat here, visibly moved, his hands gently trembling as we conducted one last interview. I didn't want to let the cricket go and somehow find myself telling him I'm still gutted I dropped that catch, to be honest. It had stuck for a second in my left hand like a fairy tale and then bounced out like real life. I can remember my second pint too, walking out onto the balcony to see Lords scattered with tens of thousands of people, all looking back up at us, waiting for a glimpse. It was one of the biggest cheers I've ever received. To be fair, it was quick. Still, I can also just about recall when I nearly broke down in the dressing room, as Ben told the group that the most important thing about me was that I was a good bloke. Joe presents me a fielding mitt, given the amount of coaching drills I'll be doing with them for the remainder of the summer. The rest of that evening, there are holes. I can just about re-find the 10th pint when a woman flown in from Rome had hand-delivered a guitar from Coldplay that had been on stage with them that same evening. It was that kind of day. I'm having to almost physically force my eyelids open from the haze this morning. There is a text at the top of a long list of unread messages. It's from Mick Jagger. "Hi Jimmy," it reads. "I wanted to tell you how much you have given me and my family watching you play for so long," he says, "and what an inspiration you've been to keep me going." No one's going to retire Mick Jagger, I think to myself for a split second, envious. I'm taking my daughter Ruby to play netball. The test had finished early, only just stretching into Saturday morning, where it was full for my last ever hour of test cricket at Lord's, the same place it had all started. But today, somewhat abruptly, I'm no longer the leader of the England attack. I'm a dad with a teenage daughter who needs to be taken to netball. When our taxi arrives, my head rumbling, half grateful for the excuse not to be dwelling on the empty space and given some parental purpose, I drop her off at the game. After her first match, I feel the need to find somewhere to be alone, somewhere I can lie down to process all this for a second, to get back to some of those messages, to ease the banging going on inside my head. That would be a godsend. I dart out as the game finishes, avoiding the gaze of several parents looking at me with slightly upturned smiles and inward-facing eyebrows. I escape around the back of the sports hall, looking for anywhere I can just be alone, somewhere quiet and unburdened. What am I looking for? I begin to ask myself, because it feels like a cave or a cell. Even a hole in the ground to bury myself in would suffice. I realise, though, on turning the corner, exactly where it is I need to be. On sight, it appears to be a mirage, a totally abandoned cricket pitch. There is no one on the horizon, nothing in my peripheries, just a vacated expanse of cricket outfield and a distant hut for a pavilion. When I approach it, body aching and creaking its way over, I see a single bench hugging the boundary. It is a bench not unlike one I would travel to in Burnley, lost and alone. I find it, at first sitting, and then, enjoying the silence, thinking it to be some sort of half-life between yesterday and tomorrow. I stretch out and lie there completely alone. If I can get just 10 minutes sleep here, that will be nice. I don't know how long I've been there when I get tapped on the shoulder. A man is there, but I don't catch his face. He just says, as I come to, "You missing it that much already?"